Hello everyone. This is the 20th part of the story Game of Thrones, the Prideful one. Chapter 96. Tywin Lannister point of view. Stannis was moving his entire army, or at least the majority of it toward my house. Why and the how was beyond me. I knew Stannis was stupid, but this was a new low even for him. But it mattered very little. His move was stupid, and I would crush him down for it, and while we would lose some men, this victory would be worth it. Without Stannis on the game, I would be able to focus my entire self into erasing Ronald off the map. This was the opening we needed to destroy Stannis. He had let himself wide open, and I would strike without hesitation, and if I had any luck, I would be able to absorb whatever Stannis leaves behind. Tell Jaime to be ready, we are marching home, I ordered my men. As I walked out of the war tent, wondering what brought this stupid move on Stannis' part. I knew since the beginning he would lose, but not like this. Something else was into play, but what? Stannis Baratheon point of view. The crown, the throne, the 7 kingdoms, everything was finally within my grasp. That vision, the fire showed me a king, a brave king fighting against the others, a king that was loved, feared, and respected, and that king was me. Finally I would get what was rightfully mine and bring Westeros to an era of glory and peace. Melisandre, my trusty advisor, had showed me the will of the light, and I would obey. For I was the champion of the light, the paragon of justice. I was the chosen one, and as the chosen one I had to obey my God, for he had blessed me with his pure magnificence. And for me to bathe on that beautiful glory I saw on the fire, all I would have to do was to end Ronald, with an army of 5,000 men, just that. At first I thought Melisandre was trying to kill me, but I was a fool to trust the emissary of my lord, my beautiful lord. She was but a messenger, and I had the audacity to strike her because I doubted her words. The words of my God. We will win, because the light is with us. I cried out with a smile on my face, because it was true. No matter how many soldiers they had, no matter how many walls they had, no matter how many allies they had, in the end it didn't matter, because they would fall. No man can stand against the will of a God, and I was the will of light incarnated in flesh and blood. Do not fear. The light is with us. My king. I don't think this is the best idea. Davos muttered in a barely audible tone. The will of the light is absolute. Do not fear Onion Knight, the light will protect you, I said as I glared at him, so stay silent and obey. As you wish, my king, Davos bowed as he left my sight. No matter how much my men thought I was crazy, it would be worth it. Soon, the world would be mine. Ser Davos Seaworth point of view. She finally did it. That crazy wretch led Stannis into her same level. At first was tolerable. She didn't do much. Burning the monuments to the 7, that was fine. Spreading the word of her religion, sure, why not? But then she decided to turn the crazy a few thousand notches above. Burning people. Kids. And here we are. Marching to our imminent death, 5,000 men against 8,000 men. Yeah, the God of Light was going to save us. He might as well burn us now and save Ronald the trouble of cutting our heads. I suppose I should make peace with what is going to happen. I lived 40 long years, more than many. I had many kids. I did many things. Perhaps it was better to die here like a dog. The little lady will be sad, that's for sure, I muttered. That girl was so innocent, so naive, yet so smart. She even learned how to read better than me in less time. Not that I read very well, but still, 42 years old is not that bad. At least I will be remembered, as an idiot. But remember nonetheless. Joffrey Baratheon point of view. Ronald was at last here in Westeros, and it was finally the moment to show that worm who was the superior being. I would kill and destroy everything he held dear. His wife and children would be raped to death in front of him. Seeing him powerless would cement me as the most powerful king to have ever lived. His tears, his pain, the screams of his family, they would all bring me endless hours of happiness. I just couldn't wait. Soon for now you'll do, I laughed, as I decided to focus for the moment on what I was doing, skinning one of the maids alive, while she was at Ronald. Her screams of pain every time I broke some, or ripped something was, the best. You should feel grateful a king seems you're worthy of his time whore. No, hold her down, I will take her left eye out. MPPPPH. The maid tried to scream, her terror overtaking her. Yes, this is what I wanted, seeing her face, her pain, her suffering, this was the absolute best. Bob the Raven point of view. I'm Gary. Unlike the majority of my high brothers and sisters, I don't have a unique trait. I don't wear weird clothes. I don't talk weird, and I'm not a master chef. I just plain old boring Bob. And while I might not have special abilities and or personality like some of my brothers and sisters, I would still do my absolute best to serve the great Cornbringer. Scream! Scream! I could faintly hear Joffrey shouting with pleasure. Deciding it was best to investigate, I flew to the source of the sound, finding Joffrey with a skinning knife above. Oh God! Caw! For the love of corn! Well, it's settled. Inbreeding between humans is an atrocity against every natural law. I cawed, leaving the area, feeling sorry for the poor thing under him, but soon that mutilated human would have the justice his or her mutilated body deserved. Ronald was that for everything justice and corn, not necessarily in that order. Daenerys' point of view. Yunkai was ours, with every masthead hanging on the wall of the city as a display of what happens when you try to oppose the might of the bears and the fury of the dragons. My queen, Dario Nahari said as he knelt down, there are reports of the other slaver cities preparing for you. No matter how much you prepare for a natural disaster, when it hits there is nothing you can do. No matter how much they tried or prepared, they would fall. My queen, Missandei said as she entered the throne room of Yunkai with Geralt on her arms, the young prince has been asking for you for hours. Mama, Geralt babbled, extending his arms towards men eager to me on my arms. The princess is sleeping, Missandei answered before I could even ask. She was definitely the best babysitter I could ask for. You wanted to be with mommy? I smiled, as I bombarded my sweet little bundle of joy, my treasure with kisses. All right, you can be with mommy, how can I say not to that cute face? It's like switch. Dario muttered. You said something? I inquired with narrowed eyes. He did let me burn him. Crow flew towards him, he was now bigger than Bear. Could you please stop trying to burn everything? Rhaegar did the same but for some reason slapped his brother with his tail. Neltharion is out there with Dad, while we stay here doing nothing. It's not fair. I want to burn things too. Crow hissed at his brother, probably angry for the tail slap. I know, but focus that burning desire into other things, like training, or I don't know. Singing? Rhaegar hissed back calmly. Burning desire. Was that a pun? Crow narrowed his eyes at Rhaegar as he hissed. Maybe. Rhaegar hissed one last time, flying out of the room, with Crow chasing him close behind. I will get you. Puns are stupid. Alright, that pun didn't tip the scales in my favor. Arg. That was the last one, I'm sorry. Without Ronald I can only imagine what are they saying, I chuckled, wondering what were my two dragon babies fighting about. Alright, let's stop. I don't want this battle to drag on. I will burn your balls. Maybe wisdom beyond human understanding, or maybe just a playful game between brothers, no one would ever know. Chapter 97. I woke up once again to the scorching sun of Dorne. Today was the day we were supposed to leave this litter box Oberyn calls home. I have sand in places where sand should not be in any circumstances, but I had to be a good guest, but God, I hate sand. My king, my father wants to see you, Tywin said as she entered my room without knocking. One of the many reasons I wanted to leave this place besides my powerful hate for the sand around, was that Tywin was literally trying to get into my pants, like really trying, and usual methods to stop this shit didn't work because apparently she kinda liked that. The more aggressive I got letting her know I didn't want her, the more sexy I would become. Thanks, I'll be there in a minute, I grumbled, wondering if breaking her arms would put a stop to her shenanigans, because not even Oberyn could. It's a pleasure, Tywin said, biting her lips, as she approached me with a hungry look. Okay, I tried being vocal about it, but that didn't work, so I'll be physical with you. I smiled with no emotions behind the smile besides annoyance and a tad of anger. Try hitting on me again and I will snap your neck, is that clear? Tywin smiled. Crystal, my king, and even after a threat the fucking crazy bitch was horny. What is wrong with these people? I swear it's like she took what Oberyn had and turned that shit to 100, like even Oberyn has a sense of self-preservation, but this crazy bitch has none. Even if I was single I would not fuck her, not at all. Rule number 1 of the man manual, you don't stick, I grunted, pushing the crazy woman off my room. Nick Fury Ravenicus point of view. My mission to stop the bitch-ass motherfucker of Euron who the fucking cares was a total success. The idiot was stranded, walking alone, slowly succumbing to his imminent death, and I was here with my special squad, enjoying every moment of it. I can't die here. Euron muttered weakly. He was starving, and very weak. Oh no, are you dying? I flew toward a rock nearby. If so, let me get some corn, I want to enjoy the show. You fucking talking bird. I will eat you. Euron growled, crawling over to me. Oh no, if only I could fly. Oh wait, I flew off the rock. Well boys, load your guns and shoot. I ordered my squad, who did as they were told. Enjoy what's for dinner, bitch. Soon after, every raven took a #2 on him. Enjoy is the chef's special. I will end your fucking species, Euron growled, his clothes and head covered in bird shit. We'll be back after lunch. The boys are practicing their aim, so we'll be back after every meal. I flew off with a sense of satisfaction after I sager you would survive long enough to get anywhere. Back to Ronald point of view. After my usually unusual morning, the ravens fill me in with what was going on in the twins. Apparently Stannis had decided to attack the twins and was marching to his own death. If I had to take a guess, Melisandre was behind all that. Stannis was way too experienced, way too seasoned in the art of war to come up with such a strategy. So let me see if I get this straight. Oberyn said, taking a deep breath. Stannis is marching towards the twins with 5,000 soldiers, while everyone knows you have around 5,000 soldiers waiting for you. Plus another 45,000 coming from Dorne. That's the summary, yeah, I nodded. That sounds like a very, very stupid idea, Doran commented, but I suppose we shouldn't complain when the enemy makes mistakes. I suppose, Oberyn nodded. Well, it's time to go, I said, clapping my hands, getting their attention. Now that we know Stannis is a thing of the past, we need to move fast, because this also means I'm the only target the Lannister have left. Wise choice, my king, Doran smiled. It took a week, but I finally had what I had come for, an army of 45,000 Dornish soldiers ready to fight and aid me in my quest. Time to, happy with how things were going for me so far. Neltharion Mormont Ravenicus. Father had left me on Bear Island with one order, to wait for his signal. He wanted me to stay hidden until the time for me to flight with him into the battlefield came, and there was nothing I wanted more than that, to prove him I was a good warrior like him, a dragon in body, a bear in spirit and a raven in brains. I would soon burn his enemies away, and protect our family like he does, the Lannisters. Fuck them, I'll burn them. The Baratheon fucks those two, I'll burn them. The champion of who knows what. Fuck that guy, I'll burn him. I will be so strong that father will have to rely on me. Fuck yeah. I growled as I breathed fire into the sky. Stop that. A horse complained, you will start another fire. Last time we barely had time to stop it. Poor Jimmy will never be forgotten. You are right, poor Jimmy, he will be missed, I hissed in lament. Stop talking like I'm dead. Sometimes I can still hear him, the horse cried out. He was the bravest squirrel ever. For the love of nuts, it's no fun anymore. He was, I hissed in agreement, holding my laughter in. Fuck you, overgrown lizard. Cersei Lannister point of view. The truth about me and Jaime was spreading like a plague that couldn't be contained. People were starting to question more and more the legitimacy of Joffrey. The only thing that placated them was that they feared our house, rightfully so, but still, the whispers, the looks, everything I had worked so hard to mold was falling apart. But even all this was something I could deal with. What I really feared was at some point father would start asking questions, and doubting my words, if he for a moment believed what those rumors said, he would kill us. Father only loved one thing and one thing only, his legacy, and if he thought someone would destroy it, he would not hesitate to strike back. I'm afraid, Jaime, I whispered as I rested my head on his chest. Don't be afraid, if push comes to shove I will fight father for us, the entire world if necessary, Jaime reassured. Do you really have to leave? I inquired, wondering why did he had to go and fight for Casterly Rock when all that mattered was here. It's my duty, I fight for you and my children, Jaime chuckled, and I always will. Don't you dare to die, or I'll kill you, I muttered. Only you could do that, Jaime laughed. Olenna Tyrell point of view. Stannis has finally did it, he went full crazy on us, attacking without strategy, without nothing. To think he was one of the many options I had considered for an alliance, knowing his wife was unable to birth him a boy, but I'm glad I didn't move the pieces towards him. But I suppose I can respect his stupidity to some extent. He is dying on his own terms after all, not many men can say that. Once a stupid man, always a stupid man. Now that he had decided to die, all there was left was Ronald and his allies. This was where the real war started. Ronald had 3 kingdoms behind him if we counted the Iron Islands he previously conquered. "Grandmother, the wedding is in a month, aren't you excited?" I smiled, looking at the poor naive girl I loved so much. She was smart, but her own innocence and ambition blinded her to the truths of the world. She was marrying, and because of that she would hold the title of a queen. But did that really matter in the end if we didn't win? She was way too carefree for what was happening around. But I suppose it's my duty to worry for everyone in this family, for now that is. "I'm thrilled," I replied. Chapter 98. By the moment I arrived at the twins, Stannis had been already captured by Ned Stark, alongside some of his close advisors. Among them were Melisandre, Davos, and some of his generals. "There wasn't much of a fight, Your Grace," Ned Stark said as he bowed. I wasn't expecting much of a fight. While it was true I didn't expect much of a fight, it was still surprising you went all in with this stupid idea. "The one they call the Red Witch wants to speak with you," Jon informed me. "Very well, lead me to the prisoners," I said as I followed Jon, not before leaving Oberyn and Ned behind with one last command: accommodate our new forces. "As you wish," Oberyn nodded. "It shall be done, Your Grace," Ned said with a short nod. With that, we continued walking as Jon led me to the prisoners' camp. I was genuinely curious as to what the Red Witch would offer me. By this point I knew she knew I was the so-called chosen one, fucking title. So the fact that she wants to help me is clear. The how is what actually concerns me. "Just a bit more, Your Grace," Jon said as he guided me through the camp. "How many soldiers did we lose?" I inquired, trying to make small talk to kill the time in between. "Around a fifth, Ty," Jon muttered. "I know it's an acceptable number, but I would have preferred none died." 50 soldiers sure was an acceptable number, too fucking good. It's impossible to avoid losses in war times. The best we can do is honor those who died fighting for our cause. "I know, but I don't have to like it," Jon sighed as he gestured to me with his hand to some cages big enough to fit humans. "We have arrived, Your Grace." "Thanks, Lord Targaryen," I smiled as I purposely mentioned his new last name, trying to see how he was taking that in. Jon shifted a bit, showing he was still processing that. "My pleasure." With that he bowed and left. Stannis was glaring at me, with a defeated expression on his face: anger, hate, self-loathing. Many things were erupting on his face at the same time. Davos was shackled close to him with an expression that said he was done with all the shit. Those expressions were easy to take in. What really creeped me out was what Melisandre was showing: pure and unadulterated bliss, as if she had just laid her eyes on God. "Caw! Does that bitch blink or what?" a raven asked in befuddlement as he landed on my shoulder. And I really didn't know how to answer that. The damn woman hasn't blinked since I got here. "You know, you can blink, it's not you like will miss something." "How can I blink, when the light you bring is so beautiful, so magnificent?" "I can serve fire within you, is blinding, so perfect, it's more than I ever imagined." Melisandre said, tears running down her cheeks. "Okay, another crazy chick. I seem to be attracting them lately. Now if you are done sucking my dick, metaphorically speaking, I want to know your plans." "All I have ever wanted, to serve you," Melisandre said, staring at me with happy and crazy eyes. "And if I wanted to kill you?" I inquired, narrowing my eyes. "Dying by your hand would be the greatest honor anyone could ever hope so," Melisandre said, and I could see in her face she meant every word she said. "I really don't like you, burning people, Childs, but unfortunately I think I need you. You are probably the only one that can answer some of my questions, and talk with the asshole that chose me, and decided to leave me alone to deal with this." I sighed. "I will let you live, but if you do one thing, one little thing that I don't like, or anything in general without my approval, I will do the one thing I think you would hate. I will let the Night King kill you." This got Melisandre's attention. She tensed up. After all I had practically told her I was going to turn her to the Satan of her religion. "I will follow your every command." So he was the chosen one. Stannis muttered with venom on his tone. How naive I was, how stupid I was. "I don't really have anything against you, Stannis, but your life is a threat to my rule." I sighed. Stannis was my enemy, but I really didn't hate him at much. He was an inconvenience for my plans. Just get this over with, Stannis growled. It seemed his spirit was even more broken than his army. If I could ask for something, your grace. Davos, the poor onion knight, in the show I found him to be a very likable, very loyal, but with terrible luck. What? I inquired. Can you spare Shireen? She is but a child, is my last wish, if you could find it in your heart to. I knew where he was going, so I stopped him with a chuckle. I never wanted to kill her, but she will lost all her lands, money and social status, and seeing you care for her, it will be your duty to raise her. I chuckled. Davos might have marched against me, but with him I could spare to be merciful. He and Shireen were no threat at all to me. Your mercy will not be forgotten, your grace, Davos smiled. After that I released Davos and Melisandre. Davos immediately warned me about Melisandre and how she would turn me crazy like she did with Stannis, but I reassured him I knew she was crazy, and that she would not get in my mind. He, while not sure of my words, decided to believe me, and immediately left to pick up Shireen. Stange's execution was northern style. He who passes the sentence should swing the sword. If you are to take a man's life, you owe it to him to look into his eyes and hear his final words. And if you cannot bear to do that, then perhaps the man does not deserve to die. Ned's words, which were true, and as the northerner I was, it was the right thing to do. Any last words? I asked Stannis, my sword above his neck ready to leave a clean cut. He who lives by the sword, dies by the sword, Stannis said. Very well, I nodded, bringing my sword down on his neck, decapitating him with a single swing, leaving a clean cut on his neck that assured his death was painless. Peter Baelish point of view. Ronald had survived. I was as good as dead. Tywin would kill me the moment he came back from the war. I had to run. Perhaps if I played my cards right I could win the favor of Ronald, but the point was I had to escape the capital. But I had no idea how to do it. The guards outside made it impossible for me to communicate with my allies. I couldn't get out of the room, not even to eat, and I was under surveillance all day long. Varys. The old spider, while I hated the guy, he would surely help me. Of course he would demand something in return, but at this point I didn't care as long as it allowed me to escape. But how? How could I reach the spider in his web? How could I reach my only option for escape? If I wanted to live I would have to be more resourceful and clever than ever. I can't die here. Not after all I have made. I said with resolve. Chapter 99. While the Lannister were fighting the remaining forces Stannis had left behind attacking Casterly Rock, I decided to start marching with my army towards the Tyrells. Destroying their major ally, and only food provider. Normally even with my army this would not be easy. I had to be smart about it. One wrong move and the Lannisters and Tyrells would mobilize against, in an unfamiliar ground they would and could overwhelm me. This is where Neltharion came into the board of this wretched game. He was still considered by many a myth or a lie on my part. I knew for a fact Tywin and Olenna didn't believe it, which meant they had no preparations for my dragon son. While he wasn't as big as he was in the show when Daenerys came to Westeros, he was certainly big enough to burn cities and trash armies down. And during this last push of war, it was time to reveal my card. Tywin was a genius when it came to war, his mind was born for it, and the best way to deal with someone like that was to attack them with an unknown factor fast and certain, not giving them the chance to retaliate. Tell Neltharion it's time, I ordered one of my ravens, as I walked towards Melisandre's chambers. My king, I have been waiting for you, Melisandre said, greeting me, opening the door before I even got close to it. Knowing this, which had the creep factor up to 11, I decided to ignore her antics and go straight to the point. I have some questions for you, I informed as I entered her room, taking a seat. I will do my best to help you, my light, Melisandre said with hungry eyes. Ignoring her thirsty look, I asked my first question. Some time ago, I had a meeting with the other champion. Immediately Melisandre tensed up, all carnal lust vanishing as if it was never there. What happened next was what I want you to help me figure out. Did he do something to you? Melisandre asked with a hint of fear on her voice. No, it can't be, your light is pure and uncontaminated. Yeah, he didn't do anything, I sighed, motioning her to shut up and listen for a second so that she knows what my real question is. He came to gloat about he was going to kill everything, and after he left, I started to angrily question why the fuck your god wasn't helping me, or at least the people he said he wanted to save. I stared at my hands for a second before continuing. Anger fueled me, and my body became hot, very, very hot. The snow around me melted down, and there was steam around me. I even left some burn marks where I was standing, after I noticed that, whatever it was happening went back to normal. So my question is, do you know what happened? Melisandre stares at me for a second, as she probably studied the facts of what I had just told her. Rualar, the great and powerful Rualar, he blesses his subjects with powers. Some can heal wounds, others are immune to fire. The blessings go from small to big. Taking me for example, the great Rualar blessed me with magic, powerful magic for a human, and thanks to that I have lived on this world for hundreds of years. With this she took off her ruby collar, and her true form appeared. I made this with the blessing he gave me. With that demonstration out of the way, she put back on her collar, returning to her young self. If followers, mere and pathetic followers, get good blessings, I can only imagine what blessings he gave his champion. I already had some inkling to that, but how do I control it? It would really help me against the others, I asked, taking a deep breath in. Why gods couldn't just give powers with manuals and how to use them? For each, their own, Melisandre sighed. For me, I learned to harness the power the great Rualar had given me through faith, but I can see you have no love for Rualar. Melisandre chuckled, quite ironic, but not all sons love their fathers. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that you have to find your own way to control what has been given to you. So I was back to square one, not knowing what to do. Any ideas at the very least? Melisandre hummed, ask your dragon sons. Dragons are the oldest sons of Rualar. They might be young, but perhaps they can guide you better than I can, she sighed. Very well, I nodded. At least that was something. Anything else, my king? Melisandre inquired. I nodded. Yes, as you know, the others are weak to certain things. Getting a swift nod from her, I continued. I need you to find a way to forge Valyrian steel, or something similar. All I know is that blood magic and dragon fire were needed. Valyrian steel. I don't think I can replicate that without the Valyrian records, but I will try to create something that works similar to that. It may not be Valyrian steel, but will do the trick against the others, Melisandre said with determination. No killing, and if you must, it goes through me first. Is that clear? I glared at her. Your orders are absolutely my light, Melisandre nodded. Tywin Lannister point of view. Destroying Stannis' forces was turning to be a child's game. No strategy meant they were vulnerable in all accords, and while losing men on our side was unavoidable, considering the numbers we were dealing with, we were doing beyond excellent. Our scouts said there still are around 20,000 soldiers left, but retreating, Jaime said as he entered my war tent, as always unscathed. We have barely lost any men, 2,000 so far. For each man we lose they lose 10, one of my generals added with a prideful smirk. Don't feel pride on this victory, we might as well be fighting a child, I muttered with annoyance. Stannis went mad and forgot how to fight. It's good for us, but is frankly beneath me to feel pride in such victory. Ronald on the other hand, his defeat would surely bring glory to my house for generations. A victory is a victory, Tyrion chuckled, but that leaves us with the big question, what's next? Ronald, I answered calmly. I know that, but how? Tyrion chuckled. He is a brat, he will fall when the time comes, one of my generals laughed. A child yet to be defeated, with an army strong enough to face us, and for the first time in history, with more gold than us, Tyrion said, shutting everyone up. Or have we forgotten he owns Bravos and the Iron Bank now? Or the fact that he might or might not have 3 dragons? Maybe we are forgetting he technically has more kingdoms supporting him than we do? You talk as if you think you will win, brother, Jaime laughed. If we don't prepare we might as well roll our heads to him, Tyrion said. And prepare we will, I said, getting a surprised expression from Tyrion. As I told you before, I never underestimate an enemy. I did once, and look where he's at, fighting against our family for the throne. I won't give him a chance, not again. Maybe we could demand a duel? And use the mountain? One of my generals inquired. That would prove to be futile. If the information about him is anything to go by, he rivals the mountain as brute force, but fights like Arthur Dane, all we would do is lose a great asset. The mountain stands no chance against him as all the rumors are true. I shook my head off. To kill Ronald we would have to overwhelm him. Chapter 100. I decided to take this opportunity while Tywin was occupied with the Baratheons to attack the Tyrell, even though I was still waiting for some of my forces I had left behind on the north, Neltharion among them. but my ravens had confirmed Neltharion was close and would join my main attack force before I even reached the Tyrells. As of now I found myself in an unfamiliar place, an endless plain. This after all was the first time I had been in the south. In the far, far distance, I could make out a large formation of mountains, with their incredibly high peaks hidden in the clouds. So far there are no signs of men beside mine. Whether they knew I was coming or not was still left in the unknown. But it mattered very little if they knew. With Neltharion making the fire rain on them, their defeat was just a matter of time. Unlike the show, they didn't have weapons able to kill a dragon. Arrows were meaningless against Neltharion. Him alone would decimate great part of their army. We are close to the Tyrells. We are but a few days ahead, Your Grace. Oberyn informed me with a wide smile, ready to fight and avenge his sister, though at this point we were friends, so I assumed he also wanted to fight for my cause, just a bit. Thanks, I nodded. Is my daughter really hitting on you that hard? Oberyn inquired with a chuckle. Yes, she was. I nodded with a soft chuckle, reason why she is marching with her sister in another group. I would say I'm sorry, Oberyn laughed, but I'm really not. This is hilarious. Not as hilarious as your face when my wife hears about it, I smirked at him with a devilish grin. That's a low hit. I thought we were friends, Oberyn chuckled. We are, that's basically why you still exist, I smirked. As we continued marching towards the Tyrells, I felt something coming closer, a shadow flying above me, with a loud growl spitting fire on its wake. It was Neltharion showing off. I'm ready to bring the heat. Neltharion growled, spitting a torrent of fire to the naked sky. Are you done? I chuckled. It's all about presentation, father, Neltharion greeted, rubbing his head against my chest with a low purr, as if he was a cat. I missed you. I miss you too, I smiled, passing my hand through his rough scales. We still were a few days off before we arrived at Highgarden, but now we were ready. Lovely, whatever this moment is, Oberyn chuckled. A dragon. I thought they were nothing but legends, Jon muttered in disbelief, as he looked at Neltharion with awe. He smells nice, Neltharion hissed in a low tone as he sniffed Jon. He smells like mom, but different. Well, they are related. I smiled at this. I didn't expect Neltharion to grow curious about Jon so fast. That was an interesting development to say the least. He would be your cousin. He smells weak. I suppose. I'll protect him, Neltharion hissed, coming to the conclusion Jon was weak by the family standards he was used to. Haha, I don't think he needs protection, but be my guest, I shrugged. Is he talking with the dragon? Jon muttered. Yes, he is. Oberyn nodded, by this point completely desensitized with my shenanigans. How? I don't even know why I question things anymore. Of course he speaks with dragons, Ned Stark sighed in a defeated tone. That's mostly the gist with Ronald. Just stop questioning things and everything will be fine, Oberyn nodded. What is wrong with you talking with me? Neltharion asked with a low hiss, tilting his head in confusion. Is it because only you can understand us? Probably, I shrugged with a chuckle. Tywin Lannister point of view. Ronald was moving toward Highgarden, which means he wants to destabilize our economy, cutting our only food supplier off the map. Smart move, but a predictable one. Taking countermeasures against this, I had set a few preemptive moves against this. I would let him march deep into Highgarden, and once his army was trapped I would flank them. We knew the Targaryen better than most, certainly better than the Northerners, and while I knew this strategy would not win the war, it would weaken him. By a lot. And that's what we needed to do, weaken the beast little by little, letting him bleed out, his army, his resources, his spirit. Eventually he would lose the will to fight, and just then, when his spirit is broken, I would end him. That's how you killed dangerous beasts, and Ronald, while it pained me to admit it was a beast, with enough experience he would certainly become unstoppable, but he would never reach that potential. That was a Lannister promise. Ronald Mormont point of view 3 days later. As I continued marching, a raven flew to my shoulder, whispering with a low caw to my ear that Tywin was planning to flank me with a strong attack once I was within the Tyrell's territory. I was already suspecting something was up. Not finding any soldier for this long was already suspicious enough. Though the old lion was a great strategist, he didn't take into account many things, among them my oldest son, Neltharion. A flanking strategy was good until the flankers were burned to a crisp. I inwardly chuckled. If the old lion planned to attack or lead the attack, I would destroy the major threat I had. If not, I would at the very least capture his stupid son, aka Jaime. I'm sure having his precious boy would put Tywin on an edge, though I still didn't know who was Tywin sending, so like Christmas all I had to do was wait, and see what I got. I wonder, could I consider Tywin head a good present or coal? I chuckled. I have no idea what you are talking about, Oberyn muttered with confusion, but for me, his head would be the best present. Haha, I suppose you are right, trash for some is gold for others, I laughed. Melisandre point of view. My king had entrusted me to find a way to make normal steel effective against the others. And I would deliver, no matter the price. I would give him the results he was looking for, I had to. He was my light, and I would do anything to keep it safe. I won't disappoint you, my king, I said with resolve. No matter what, I would find a way in the fire, a way to help his radiance. Nick Fury Ravenicus point of view. The squad had perfected their aim, not missing Euron's head every time they had to evacuate their vowels, and I couldn't help but feel in this moment of my life proud of them. This is enough to make a grow raven cry. Noticing a tear rolling down my peak, from my only eye, but not this raven. Unfortunately for me, I couldn't force the tear back into my eye. Good thing nobody saw this. Stop shitting on me! Euron Greyjoy screamed. Never! I cawed back. This marks the end of part 20 of the story Game of Thrones, The Prideful One. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.